This was $27,399.97.
I already know who the criminal is. He used to work for Walmart.
That 97 cents, man. $3.99.99.
Yeah, you need to look at somebody who used to work at Walmart.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Carden. And yes, it's still me.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the suffering from upper respiratory virus voice.
Yeah, I finally get good and clear of all of my crud upper respiratory, and now you picked it up, and it's impossible for me to have given it to you.
Yeah, I don't know though. I had been thinking of that, and I'm like, maybe it has a long incubation period. So
No.
I don't know. I tried to blame it on you, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't know where I picked it up at, but nonetheless, I am whooping it, and sometimes it's whooping me. But
Well, yeah, it sounds like it's whooping you today.
yeah, it's getting the best of me today. So, but the show must go on, and therefore, we'll be talking today about. I love your title here. So it's access delayed, ransomware paid, cyber aid conveyed.
Ransom paid, not ransomware.
See, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you're not feeling good.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this is what happens when I'm set free with ChatGPT and I build my own custom things, and then I can argue with it and say, no, I want this. Well, find me something shorter than that, but sounds like this. Well, now I want you to make it like this, but I want this and this to rhyme with that. Well, now I want you to, and it is so kind, it does not argue.
I know. I think I want to create one that does do that. It's like, I'm not giving you anything you want. We'll call it wife AI.
No, that's the answer. Whatever it is, the answer is no. Yeah, that's I should create one for my team and tell them, get the answers. It's like working with me direct, and then try it and have it be less than cooperative.
Yeah, there you go. And or what you should do is have it give incorrect information sometimes, and then see if your team realizes when it's not accurate.
Oh, that happened already today, because they got something that wasn't accurate out of Murphy. I mean, it wasn't totally wrong, but it also wasn't accurate. And so it was, hey, look at this. And so the good news is I was able to just quickly go over, tell it, okay, this was the question. Here was your other answer. This is a better answer. Now, go forth and prosper. So, anyhow, let's get you through this and knock out our access delayed, ransom paid, and cyber aid conveyed.
Yeah. So, last week you were on site at a undisclosed location, actually working this time. Normally you're somewhat, well, I guess you were working. I don't know. But anyway, is this where the cyber incident response checklist comes from? We're about to talk about?
No. It was released, but it was over the last few weeks, in October when I was feeling bad and a whole lot of other things were going on that we already were talking about, conference and all of that. So I hadn't had a chance to bring it up, but we were talking about it last week. So yeah, I was at the Health Sector Coordinating Council Cybersecurity Working Group twice annually in person, anyway, we were all there in San Diego. And then, so that was a day and a half. And then we had a day and a half of information from they got, I don't know, how all that stuff universities gets funded, but they got like a 20-something million grant that, or endowment. I don't know. Anyway, they got a bunch of money to let them put together a healthcare cybersecurity center within it's kind of part of the medical, because they have a huge medical facility, medical school, all of that. And the cybersecurity, they kind of hooked them together. And they're doing some really cool things to give us data. And was really excited to see what they were working on. And I mean, they've only had like a year to go from soup to nuts. So it's amazing what they've accomplished. And we got to see a lot of really interesting things and actually interview some student physician, like interns, those kind of things. So it was one of those where my brain was just going boom, 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 boom. And you're meeting and talking with all of these other people, so you're getting to tell nerd jokes, and then most people laugh. But there was a lot of work that was done, and so much information, just so much of the details. It was crazy. So we might be able to talk. I can't talk about all of them because they fall under rules, but the research they were doing, I can probably hit on some of that, and it was some really good stuff. So I'll probably go through that a little bit later in another episode.
All right. So let's talk about the HSCC's new cyber incident response checklist.
Yeah. So just to kind of get us in the mode, the whole reorganization that we mentioned that was happening with 405D is happening, and we're going to get to be like merged in with the HSCC working groups with 405D initiatives that we partner with the HHS team. So we get to talk more about HSCC and get more involved in their working groups now. Like blend in and be part of the bigger picture with ours as a segment in it. So that's news to you. And I'm not really sure how it's going to work yet. We did talk about it some. But Health Sector Coordinating Council, that's the group we often mention. And they're able to publish these documents. And you have to remember, when it comes straight from them, sometimes it's partnered with HHS and it'll have both brandings and both parties involved. And then sometimes it's HSCC alone, which is for the sector by the sector. So you got a lot of things to keep in mind there, I understand. But know that this one is for the sector by the sector. That goes with the OCCI operational. I don't remember. We haven't even had a chance to go through that. But what they did was they took this big thing that we had that HSCC did, and then they made a 405D version of it that kind of narrowed some things down. And they created this, rather than giving a big incident response recommendation, roles and responsibilities list to an executive, we know they tend to like things to be more condensed. What do I need to worry about that you are not, going to need? If you don't need me, I don't need to know, kind of thing. So that's kind of the approach they took and streamlined it specifically for healthcare executives, so that they could see, here is your role. And these are the decisions you're going to need to be, considering whenever there's a cyber incident. This is all of the stakeholders and the people you're going to have to coordinate. And it's another one of those pieces that helps you go, okay, when you have a cyber incident, you don't just say, well, IT will let us know when they got it handled, and you go on about your business.
Yeah. Don't do that.
It's not just a technology issue. It's not just an IT issue. It's not just, this is a big thing where you have to worry about patient safety, business continuity, And you got the tech heavy response stuff, and then you got the leadership and management stuff, and they kind of created it kind of like a executive's cheat sheet for chaos. So their objectives, it was to have it action oriented on immediate things, not details. Broadly, like all of our other stuff, trying to make it where it applies to all the different shapes and sizes, and specifically aligned within healthcare, so it takes into account all of our special things. So it's good. I think if you've got leaders, business owners that think this is an IT problem, I think you might find it helpful to print it out and take it to them and say, here, we're going to blend this into our incident response plan, business continuity, and this is what you're going to need to worry about. So it's, I think, going to be very helpful. I'm still figuring out how we're going to break it down and use it. But if you're interested, of course, we have the links on the show notes page at Help Me With HIPAA, and so on and so forth. So definitely check that out. That is your cyber aid conveyed.
All right. Good deal.
Yeah.
So now we want to dive into another right of access case that came in last week while you were gone.
Yeah.
Because I was joining the thing you were at. I was virtual, so which was fun because I could see you on the camera, right?
I know. You'd say, "Oh, I see you. What are you doing?" And it was entertaining for you at least.
Yeah, because I would just send you a message and, like, I know you got my message. I see you not reading it.
There was a lot happening around me, and I did not need your help making it any worse.
Yeah, but this right of access case came in, and I think, what is this, 51? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep, 51st case. So
this goes back to 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, so this enforcement initiative started in 2019, so that's a lot of years. That's when the first one, they announced the initiative and started announcing them. Announced it at the beginning of the year, started announcing the cases at the end of the year, had additional, like even in 2020, they had like 6 or 7 of them. So big chunks of cases were being dropped then, and it's continued since then. So this year they announced the SRA initiative, and we're now starting to see those. So 51 cases, counting, that COVID detour and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about 51 cases over, a 5-year period. So if the SRA thing takes the same path, but it doesn't have that, confusing shred everything and start over moment, we're going to start seeing a lot of these, and it is gone across multiple OCR directors, in fact. So I think we're going to continue to see it. And so I'm going to cover this so David does as little as possible, unless you're just dying to do your normal quote, which you can, and then I'll take the rest. But
I'll do it. I'll take one for the team.
All right.
All right. So this is the OCR director's quote, and she says, patients should never be in the position of needing to request their own medical records over and over again before getting access to them. Ensuring patients' rights to timely access to medical information continues to be a HIPAA enforcement priority. Healthcare providers are legally obligated to provide patients with timely access to their medical records. If they fail to provide that access, OCR will not hesitate to do everything in its power, including imposing civil money penalties, to ensure compliance with the law.
So that civil money penalties, remember, there's the difference between a settlement with a corrective action plan and civil money penalties. So civil money penalties that says, look, you violated HIPAA and this is what it's going to cost you. And so all of that stuff that everybody worries about are not the norm, but we've had several of them recently under the right of access issues. And I think we're going to see some of them under SRA. I don't think it's going to be pretty. But they had been, so whenever this gets to this, point, and they volley a little back and forth, and they look at financials, and they ask questions, and they do all of this stuff. And that's great. So this, as we've mentioned many times, goes on for years. And in July of this year, they resolved this one by saying, look, here we go. We're just going to give you a penalty. And basically, Rio Hondo, and that tells you right away it's California. Rio Hondo said, sure, just penalize us. Now, are they going to pay it? I don't know. But this is one where it's like, this is basic customer service issues, not just right of access. So a patient asked for their records. And by the way, they asked for their records in March 2020. So right before the lockdown. The lockdown happens. Everybody goes back to work. OCR's giving them a break for that. They weren't really, it's not about that. If they had just resolved it afterwards, been fine. So in May, everybody's getting back to work there, and they give the patient a call saying, okay, on May 22nd, they call and say, look, we're getting it all done. Your records will be ready May 27th. Had they just done that, all would be fine now. Mm-hmm. But patient shows up as they're supposed to, and they wait 20 minutes with nothing. And I don't know about you, but that's one of the things that drives me nuts is when people don't respect my time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
my
one of the
time's
few
valuable
things
too.
That's one of the few things that gets me from zero to pissed off the fastest.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's like you act like I don't matter and I'm a nobody, or I would get attention and you've got better things to do than help me. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the thing. So nobody shows up. So finally the patient's like, look, I got things to do. You told me to be here. I'm here. When you are for real that they're ready, not until then, let me know. And so this, you would think, means that they would follow up. According to the response from the facility, they were delayed because the person that was in charge of getting the records was asking someone else questions about fulfilling the request, which seems like that would have happened in the 5 days between, So they were clearly not ready when she was called. And so apparently at some point after the 20 minutes had run out, it could have been an hour later, who knows, they go looking for the patient and the patient's already gone, and they claim that they tried to reach the patient after that but couldn't get him that day. But here's where it becomes a customer service issue. Now, that was bad enough. Mm-hmm. But after that, nobody did anything. Nobody got alerted. No leaders got alerted about the delay. And this is why we say you need to have things that are alerting you when there are delays in meeting these, any entity of any customer service quality thing. You would have this problem with you would be frustrated, we'll call it, if your staff did that with a client that, hey, we're going to do this on this day. Then you just tell them nothing, and then you just never get back to them. That's bad, and that's customer service, plain and simple. Finally, the patient calls back several times, sometimes getting transferred apparently to a black hole called medical records where it just rings. Never got any kind of answer. And finally, they call and file the complaint, or go online, file the complaint with OCR in October. And OCR says, we're going to investigate you. And suddenly somebody's looking, and boy, they jump on it, get them the records. send them an apology letter, all those kind of things. But that was after, it's too late at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just way too late at that point. So the bigger issue there is, look what it took to get the records, and had the patient not called, how much longer would that have gone on? If the patient hadn't filed the complaint, there's no way of knowing, because until OCR notified them, no action was being taken. Nobody was looking at it. Nobody was following up. There were no alerts within their systems. It would have probably continued to go on until OCR talked to them. And basically they were just like, yeah, our bad. This is what it looks like. We have to read between the lines for a lot of it. But so finally OCR is like, okay, fine. $100,000. Here's what we determined that you failed, and based on HIPAA penalties, net is they've notified them you owe us $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Cha-ching.
A lot of money for bad customer service.
I know. I wish I could get that, when, I appreciate any time. You don't have to be perfect, but once you realize that you weren't, you make all kinds of changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's hugely important. And I would hope, anyway, to see that happen in healthcare even more so with these kind of scenarios, because you're talking about somebody's medical records and their ability to provide ongoing care for themselves. So
mm-hmm.
Anyhow, that's number 51. And after what we went through with gums, it's nice to see one that's just plain. But in the midst of all of that, because we did cover one that was an SRA one, this one came out like boom, boom, and I kind of got them stuck together and didn't notice they were two different things. So now I know they are two different things, and I'm making sure that we cover it because it's pretty interesting, and it's a big chunk of money.
Mm.
Well, first of all, it's Plastic Surgery Associates of South Dakota. So remember how I tell you they look at the financials?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they're looking at your financials, they want it to hurt but not put you out of business. That's the goal with these kinds of penalties.
So this ought to show you that plastic surgery apparently does pretty well.
Yeah, it does. Because they got hit, and this is with a 2-year corrective action, which means it's been reduced.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also because it was really bad.
Mm.
So $500,000 settlement payment and a 2-year corrective action plan.
$500,000.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but it'd bother me to do 500. Every now and then, you make a decision, you might lose $1,000, and that hurts.
Yeah.
Make several decisions and lose $500,000. I can't even comprehend how I would feel. I don't know about you, but I would probably just stare into space for a really long time. All right. So
I do that for free.
So let's talk about the quote on this one, which always tells us what we're supposed to know.
All right. So ransomware attacks often reveal a provider's underlying failures to comply with the HIPAA security rule requirements, such as conducting a risk analysis or managing identified risks and vulnerabilities to health information. Such failures can make our doctors and hospitals attractive targets for cyber attackers and can lead to breakdowns in our healthcare system.
So, in this one, a breach report was filed July 2017. So here's another one that's been going on for a long time, trying to get somewhere. And clearly this was negotiated to get to here. That they discovered 9 workstations and 2 servers were infected with ransomware. meaning that 10,229 patient records were encrypted.
Okay. So I'm automatically wondering, is this the full size of their practice?
Probably.
Yeah. And then my second one is, why 2 servers?
Again.
I mean, yeah, it's like 9 workstations and you got 2 servers?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'd question having 1 9 workstations. But anyway, that's...
Well, they probably got their EMR on there, and then that has to be on its own server because the vendor won't support it otherwise. And then they have a domain controller. My guess. Yeah. But again,
well, yeah.
That was a guess.
I mean, to your point, 2017, not as many people were doing cloud-based things, back then.
Right.
Way back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, 7, almost 8 years ago. Whew.
Yeah.
A baby born then would be going to school now. That tells you how long ago it was. So,
well, this next sentence here in the notes is just, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The attackers got in using a brute force attack on their RDP connection. Now, granted, we were already telling people, don't do this. Don't bear these out there. Don't just leave them sitting out there. You get a VPN, do a lot of other things. But they just had it out there.
This is still happening. I had a conversation last week with an MSP, and they were discussing with me whether or not they should go into providing service to healthcare providers. And the guy said to me, he's like, I didn't think I would be able to provide much value because these people already have all their stuff straight, right? Because they're following HIPAA. That's exactly what I did. And he said, I thought they had their stuff together until I got called in on a ransomware issue, and it was with a small dental office, and they're not doing anything that they're supposed to be doing. And anyway, in the conversation, he said that not only was there an open RDP connection to the server, but when their current IT guy, after he wiped the server for the ransomware,
he nuked
and paved, but he set the server back up and reopened the RDP connection to the server.
Like, let me sweep the floor before I let you back in.
Yeah. So it's like, anyway, so the guy was telling me, he said, I've completely changed my viewpoint of healthcare. I really thought they had their stuff together. I was like, no. No. There's not very many industries that has their stuff together, and you're not going to find healthcare much different.
No. I mean, one of the conversations last week was, everybody talks about the financial industry being the number one in cybersecurity, and we want healthcare to be that, was this whole discussion that somebody was leading. And that was one thing. But the other thing is, I'm at a party on Saturday night, and I'm talking with a guy that's in financials he's saying to me, yeah, we got the same problem. We have all this cybersecurity awareness stuff, and none of the leadership or executives pay attention. And I'm like,
yeah,
don't tell me financials is that great. It's just they have so little to secure. And then I got to say to him, I was like, he's like, yeah, we, this, and he's all worried about the, money and transactions. And I was like, yeah, no one can die. Don't think about in healthcare. It's totally different. People die. And we heard that a lot from the cybersecurity folks that started studying this healthcare stuff. In fact, one guy was like, I thought it would just be a little different when they brought me in to start doing these studies. It is like nothing I've ever imagined, because the things you have to worry about are outside the realm of what most cybersecurity people have to worry about. And he's like, it's coming at you from every direction, and people could die. Yeah,
it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
Which is, and that's why my attitude toward people that don't care is, really throw the book at them. I just don't have a lot of empathy for those folks at all.
Yeah. Try. If you're just trying, that's it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll go to the end of the world to help you if you just try and you want to do it. But these folks that are HIPAA schmippa, dude, like, shut them down. I really don't care.
I mean, they're not providing care if they don't care about that. You got to question what other things they don't care about.
Yeah. And it's, you and I just see it a lot, and it's very frustrating. I just saw recently and this is a very small physical therapy office in a small town, but they're advertising their Yahoo email address. And it's just, come on, y'all. I mean, we're talking about a $10 problem. Come on.
Come on, man.
It's just, I mean, I get it. If, I don't expect you to have all the cybersecurity protections in place that are available. I get it. You can't do it. It's not reasonable, not appropriate. But you can have a business email address.
Yeah. And Cash App is the only way you accept payment.
I hadn't seen that one yet.
Yeah, I have. There's a bartender that put a Cash App QR code up on the table, and I was like, now that's an interesting approach. I'm still not going to pay you that way, but it's good for you. Venmo, I don't use any of those. I just won't.
Yeah.
It just drives people crazy. So I have a very limited, here's what I'll use. That's it. So anyway, so back to this scenario. They get in with a brute force attack, and to make it worse, they were unable to restore from backup because it wasn't clear if the backup was encrypted or it was there in the first place. It's not really clear. They did not have good backup protocols. That was clear. So they end up paying a Bitcoin ransom. And in the documentation, here is the dollar amount of the ransom. Everybody talks about these ransoms. This was $27,399.97.
I already know who the criminal is. He used to work for Walmart.
That 97 cents, man. $3.99.99.
Yeah, you need to look at somebody who used to work at Walmart.
Yeah, so that had to do with whatever the Bitcoin rates were, exchange rates at that time, but they had to pay that out to get their data back.
Well, good thing it wasn't $27,400. That would have broke me.
Yeah, because those partial Bitcoins, you always want to know how they're cutting them in half. Yuck. But so OCR does their investigation, which is something that's always going to happen if you have a breach of 500 or more, and they're getting to be under pressure to do it when there are smaller numbers. Notes to self. I mean, there's a lot still happening out there about pressuring the industry to do better to protect people. Well, and to protect our ability to provide care. People are like, I don't care about your privacy, but do you care whether we're here or not? Yes, that's it. That would be the piece. We also have integrity and availability. So, anyway, their investigation revealed, and this was a direct quote, that PSASD, the acronym, of course, we had to have one, demonstrated significant non-compliance with the HIPAA rules.
Oh.
I've seen them say compliance failures or violations, but significant non-compliance.
They might as well have just put HIPAA schmippa in there.
Yeah, that they told us HIPAA schmippa is that's what that reads to me, right?
Yeah.
And it says they failed to implement policies and procedures to prevent, detect, contain, and correct security violations. They failed to do an accurate and thorough risk analysis, not shocked. Implement security measures sufficient to reduce risks and vulnerabilities to another specific statement, reasonable and appropriate level. So, establish and implement policies and procedures for regularly reviewing system activity. So there was no alerting of anything. Implement policies and procedures to address security incidents.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say they didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, these are all the first steps here. So.
Yep. They didn't hit on training. Of course, the corrective action plan has a lot of detail in it. But, yeah, there's that.
Significant. Yeah, I would say they did nothing.
Significant.
And probably didn't even have the templated policies and procedures. They had nothing.
Yeah. It looks like that, but I've never seen the phrase significant noncompliance at all.
Yeah, but they probably had HIPAA compliant software though, so they're good.
That's how they fixed it. So
yeah,
I did note one thing in the corrective action plan. It's all the things we're used to seeing, right? And if you're listening to this and you haven't, we probably a couple of weeks ago did one on the other settlement about an SRA that came out, and we went through exactly what the cap says, because they say similar things. Or you can go, of course, we're going to have the links to it, and you can read the corrective action plan to see exactly what those say. And that's what you should use to know what it is they want to see in a risk analysis. Mm-hmm. I was reading an exchange. We'll just say that OCR was commenting on what was supplied when asked, will you give us a risk analysis? And they were given a 1-page spreadsheet printout that wasn't even small print to print the spreadsheet. And I love they always try to be kind, right? I love the fact that they said, I don't believe that this will meet the compliance standard of complete, thorough, and accurate. That was what they said. I am in receipt of what you supplied, but I do not believe this will meet the compliance standards of a complete and thorough, accurate SRA, whatever the phrase is, that's in the law. So, these things are not tiny. So, that being said, read the cap. That's where you learn what you're supposed to do. And this was the first time I can recall, and granted, we all know my head's like an Etch-a-Sketch. Could have been there yesterday, gone today. That they specifically had a section in the cap for security incident procedures. And so I plucked that out because I don't know that we've ever seen it and discussed it. And I wanted to just go through that really briefly. That they shall create and implement policies and procedures to address security incidents, including a process for : meaning we're about to get a list, right. Identifying and responding to known security incidents, mitigating to the extent practicable harmful effects of known security incidents, and this is the one that I so often have trouble getting people to understand. And documenting in writing security incidents and their outcomes. It's not data breaches, it's security incidents.
Right.
We had a thing happened. This is how we found it. This is what we're doing about it. This is how we're going to do our best to prevent it in the future. And documenting in writing. And it's like I was telling somebody today, same old. If it's not documented, it didn't happen, which might be great in a criminal trial, but we're not in one. At least not right now.
Yeah. Well, this is where people don't understand what security incidents are. And there's a definition for it in the law. So you don't have to guess. But you ask somebody like, when's the last time you had a security incident? And they're like, oh, we haven't had one of those.
Right.
And then you start asking questions like, well, when did somebody log in with somebody else's credentials? Or when did you have an impermissible use and disclosure? And we have them all the time. Okay, well, that's a security incident.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, oh, yeah. And you should really, I don't know very many people who can go a year without having any security incidents at all happened. So you should have something every year that comes up. I just can't imagine you not having anything.
Yeah, so I quick pulled it up at 45.164.304. That's 164.300 security rule for my boot camp attendees. And it says the attempted or successful unauthorized access, use, disclosure, modification, or destruction of information or interference with system operations in an information system. The attempted or unsuccessful, that is what we're talking about. Unauthorized access, use, disclosure, modification, or destruction of information or interference with system operations. So any attempt, whether it's successful or not, to get to those systems without proper authorization, and granted, these just random scans that hit your, there's constant program scanning going on. That was the whole discussion at just how much they're scanning to do these cybersecurity studies and test out these ideas of helping at UCSD. It made it so clear. Just sheer number of scans, Anyway, there's plenty that are not an attempt to access your system. It's an attempt to get your system to confirm it exists for whatever reason and that it's up and running. So you have to have that unauthorized access or use. So that attempt, successful or not, that results in an attempted disclosure, which we know, which could modify or destruct or destroy or interfere with our ability. So that would be like a DDoS attack. Like if they're attacking your network, and I've had it happen to my home network, where you're just getting hit with requests to the point you just unplug it. You have to disconnect from the internet to stop that and reconnect later. They'll move on because we're just a random one. We're not, anything big. So that being said, you got the hacker attempting to get to the network and they don't get in. That's an incident. An employee doing
I was going to say, I think we brought it last week that, every data breach is a security incident, but not every security incident is a data breach.
That's right.
But what people are looking at is they're looking at the data breach. Like, oh, I only need to document this if it's a breach. Like, no.
So
it's everything else.
Yeah. I mean, you got the actual attacks where they get in, but if you block them, that's an incident that you need to document that it happened and you blocked it. Those are good things to document.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to see a bunch of those.
Yeah. That
you don't want it to be like the only document you have is when you failed. Document all the successful times that it didn't happen.
Yeah, and I mean that includes an employee that's abusing their privileges. That's an incident that needs to be looked into and documented. If you go looking to see what Thelma down the street came in for, that's a security incident. If you weren't involved in Thelma's TPO. So that goes for covered entities and business associates. So you have to have a plan that shows that you're going to evaluate, you're going to document. We have all of that and try to get them to understand it. So seriously, I mean, these are the things you're supposed to be doing. It's telling you that. It's the best free consulting you can get. And, you take it and give it to your IT provider, give them the corrective action plan and say, what if I ever got this? What would you do? It's that easy. Well, you could take a questionnaire. That usually is very eye-opening. That's why we start with it now at the boot camp. Everybody's like, they want what?
Yeah, that's usually a shocker.
Yeah. So there you have it. There is our delayed, paid, and conveyed.
All right. Well, I do have a public service announcement. We are in the holiday season, and when you think back about the fact that we've had 2 major data breaches this year with National Public Data and Change Healthcare, we are already seeing people that are being scammed. I have seen over the weekend, I saw multiple people that are on my friends list that have gotten hit successfully by scams. One lady lost $4,500.
Whoa.
Because, and she said in her post, she's like, I thought I was diligent. I thought I was intelligent enough to never fall for something like this, but they got me.
Wow.
And it was kind of, when you read it, you still say, how in the world did you fall for that? It's crazy. But, you get somebody, this particular scam had something to do with her not showing up for jury duty. And she's like, I didn't know I had to show up for jury duty. And they're like, well, we've signed a bench warrant on you and, they're going to lock you up unless you pay whatever it was, $4,400 and something dollars, right at $4,500. And I did catch in her post that she said that she had to pull over on the side of the road to write something down. So number one, they called her on the phone. Number two, she was distracted by driving and whatever else was going on, And anyway, they got her. And the comments, there were a number of people in the comments was like, yes, my parents fell for that too. Or I got a call last week about that. And then it just went on and on and on. So just want to bring this up to everybody that 'tis the season. Not all giving in this season is the giving you want to do. And pay particular attention to those who are more vulnerable in our society, folks that are, older, that don't understand all this stuff, help them out, give them either our podcast or find some scam of the week emails that come out. We have some with our IT company, send them to them, but just teach them what to look for and what to be cautious of, because most people believe the best in others and they think they're not being lied to most of the time.
Yeah.
And they'll get taken advantage of.
Like David.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's a liar. So anyway, but just do that. I mean, look, everybody works hard for their money, and I hate seeing anybody getting taken advantage of, and it especially older folks.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah.
It drives me nuts.
We're out of town, and Carla gets a call from her dad. These things come in the mail. Don't forget that. They come in the mail, too, because they got your address, and they could say, we know all these things about you because of the national data one. And, you get this thing in the mail, and he got something about how he was, he was late on a payment for something and was just about to break into tears, not knowing what to do and worried that he had to get, some money to somebody quickly. Now, he's 96, and that's why Carla has it set up where he can't just go do that on purpose, because it happens all the time. And we're able to now, prevent it. But, same thing happened with my mom. Her dementia started setting in, and they scammed her with we've kidnapped your grandson scheme. So these things are only going to get worse.
Oh, yeah.
Due to the sheer number of breaches that gave them more information than they ever had.
Yep. And you got the phone calls. So you got vishing, smishing. I got one of those the other day. It was something to do with mail. We've got, the U.S. mail tried to deliver your package and couldn't. And if you don't, click on this link and verify such and such, then we're going to send it back. And I'm like, number one, it's a bit.ly link. But number two, I'm like, send it back. I don't want somebody's crap anyway. But they're playing on the fact that we're going into holiday season. Right. Lots of people order stuff. And so it is going to be highly likely that you've probably ordered something from Amazon. And so they're just going to inundate you with Amazon scams because they know most people have probably ordered something.
Absolutely. So you're going to get that. You're going to get things, you get stuff in the mail telling you how you got to do something before year end. You're going to get stuff in the mail telling you it's a tax problem. There's foreclosure notices. But go find out another way without calling them. And that's why we just have to keep people. You must assume, unless you can prove that it is correct, you must assume it's a scam and do not contact them with anything they tell you. And some of them are good, and they're real good.
Yeah. Well, my wife's neighbor, like old neighbor when she was a kid, because he still lives beside her dad. Anyway, he got scammed over the weekend. Didn't fall for the scam, but did fall for the point where he let them in his computer.
Oh,
okay. So her dad calls her. She asked me, what does he need to do? And I said, go buy another computer, because it was an older computer anyway. So I was like, just go buy another computer, because there's no telling what they put in there. And it doesn't make sense to go and pay $300 or whatever it is to reinstall everything, because the computer's not even worth $50.
Right.
So anyway, he goes to the store. I won't say which big box store it is, but he goes to the store, buys a new computer, tells them what happened. And the little technician says, why don't you bring your infected computer in and we'll transfer the files off of it to your new computer? And so fortunately, he's smart enough to say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And so they call me back and they're like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, no. No. I mean,
move away.
Yeah, like
move away.
The computer is infected with something. We don't know what it is. You're not going to plug a drive into it or anything else and then plug it into my clean computer. No. But yeah, just because the guy's a technician and working in a technical store that sells everything from washing machines to computers doesn't make them an expert in cybersecurity.
No. IT and cybersecurity are not the same.
Yeah, but what gets me is even the 80 or 90 something year old guy knew better than the technician guy who should have known. You don't do that.
Yeah. Did you call him up and tell him, David?
No, I did not. I'd
like to speak to the manager, please.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling that he's probably doing something that they've done hundreds of times.
Yep.
I'll get the same thing I get when I confront people. We've always done it this way. You're the only person who's ever got a problem with it.
Yep.
Boy, I hear that so often. Yeah. All right. That is our show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with my Barry White impression.
It's not a good one.
It is not a good one. All right, folks. We'll see you again next week. And remember that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.